Hello everyone, welcome. Really quickly, just going to give the first couple of minutes, just providing the links necessary for the chat and, get all of the technicals out the way so you guys can come on in. Hope you guys are enjoying your early November so far. We have passed the portals of, what is it? The Day of the Dead, Halloween. We were just coming out of a full moon, all in a trio status. So it's been kind of crazy. It's been a little glitchy too. It's been a little glitchy. I have like just stories just from the past like couple of weeks of things just randomly disappearing, people disappearing, hopefully not, but items like literally disappearing. So it's been like pretty weird lately. So I'm sure that the energies are rearranging itself or themselves. I don't know, but we're definitely going to get into some specifics and conversations on that. Hold on for a second. I'm trying to move this out the way. Someone said yesterday was their birthday. Happy belated or happy birthday still. All right, so I have all of my information pinned in the chat. First of all, I just want to thank everyone, especially from the last video that I made. This video was actually inspired by someone that I had a session with yesterday. Shout out to her if she's watching. But last video, I did state that if you wanted to have a reading with me, I go in more so into the ancient numerology side of things where I'm very thorough. And seeing the numbers and knowing how to attach your personal information to your birthday and so on. So I had a session yesterday and I said basically from the last video, for anyone that donates $80 and over, please involve your email address so that I can contact you and schedule a session if you'd like one. That's just an offering just for those that are donating $80 or more. If you donate anything else, I am thankful. I am grateful. All of my Cash App information, PayPal, Venmo, all of that is in the description box or in the chat pinned up. Of course, all of this is like, everything is welcomed and any contributions is definitely paid forward to those that contribute to the cause of going into the wisdom and expressing it through knowledge and eventually executing it and bringing it down to the earthly plane, to the tangibles, to the feels, to the physicalities, to the real world. Because a lot of us, we can philosophize, we can share theories and so on. But if we don't know how to bring it down to earth, then it really doesn't matter. So we just eventually become a head floating around in the clouds, not really paying attention to the groundedness and that part of life, that part of spirituality and metaphysics. So again, just wanted to kind of like put that out there before getting into the conversation. But as I was saying, this video in particular about Isis and Osiris, and I have not made a video about Isis and Osiris in so long. I still get the questions about the tattoo, and I'm always saying, this is not Isis. This is not Isis. Not necessarily. She doesn't have the headdress on her head on my tattoo for a reason, because she gets to switch through goddess energy. She is not zoned in or zeroed in to just one particular entity or character in the goddess pantheon. But I have somehow subconsciously eventually not really connected with the Isis form of myself for a reason. And I'm going to talk about that today and how I have reconnected with her on a different level in really listening to my intuition and my logic on the mythology of Isis and Osiris. And those of you already sending Cash App, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So thank you. So let's just get into the whole Isis and Osiris thing. Now, we know the mythology of the king and the queen, Isis or Ast or Aset, meaning the throne. Osiris being her husband, and more so being the gardener, the nurturer, the caretaker, the green guy, the one that teaches through harvest and abundance. He is an abundant God. She is also the support and the magic behind the throne. And it is definitely more so of a goddess, Isis being the goddess of the throne, more so of a support system and a sharing the power with her counterpart. And there are the other goddesses that come along for other specific things, such as the goddess of love and dance in the underworld, Nephthys, Hathor, Sekhmet, Wajet, like so many other goddess archetypes that take on other roles. So one of the things about the Isis archetype is that she has one role. And they say that she's like a mother figure, and more so of she is quite the magician. She holds and harnesses the true power of magic itself, magic incarnate. But you don't really zone in to the story of Isis actually using the magic for herself. It's always to either save someone, or she has to get permission from the god of wisdom or guidance from another god in order to execute a specific kind of casting with her magic. Now, the thing about this is, this on my tattoo specifically, it was an accident that she didn't have the throne on her head as her headdress. So I had to I was either going to go back to the tattoo shop and say, hey, you forgot the and then I kind of just kept it the way it is for a reason now that I see. I was in the Uber yesterday, and as I was driving and after having the session yesterday with a client of mine, I was thinking about the headdress and the crown of Isis. And the crown of Isis is a throne. It is a seat, the seat of the king. And I sometimes can be a little cynical about these mythologies sometimes, because there's a lot of trauma that comes from a lot of these stories that are not necessarily quite as fantastical and royal. And sometimes in the disrespect and that other side of the royalty factor, sometimes based upon how this goddess energy is treated and how she has been treated over time and over eons, that throne that was once a true throne was turned into a toilet seat. It was turned into a toilet on top of her head. Motherfuckers is shitting and pissing all up in her consciousness, and basically dumping and using the space of the 98%, or that wisdom space, which is very vast, for a dumping ground for bullshit, while the 2% is taken into the space of royalty, elitism, wealth, and so on. And it's kind of like not allowing this goddess to access that 2% of elitism, royalty, wealth factor, and keeping her in a 98% of true self and wisdom, but mixed and confused with other people's bullshit that has not taken accountability for it. So over time, this throne, this golden throne on top of her head, has turned into a toilet seat. So that was one thing. It was just about, in my mind's eye, this goddess has taken off the throne, taken off the crown, and she just said, fuck this shit. Right? So then, in this essence of having an inner conversation with this goddess, who is quite beautiful in so many different ways, this is a real inner ancient conversation, real DNA activated conversation. You know how some people, and I see this a lot, and just on YouTube still, in like especially the new age community still, a lot of people love channeling. I'm channeling this goddess, or I'm channeling this alien, or I'm channeling an entity or a dead person. And people just like watch and just like take it as such because they say it with such authority. I never claim to be channeling any entities necessarily. I don't want to take that responsibility, but I do say, or I would like to say, that I am truly having inner conversation with these entities for sure. So definitely wanted to know, there's a difference between that. So I'm not channeling a goddess right now, or claiming that. So my inner conversation started happening. And one of the things that I really wanted, or I feel this goddess, Isis, true Isis, wants people to at least question about the mythology, is the Nile River, the inclusion of the Nile River and her tears, her energy, her tears being the offering toward the Nile River. Every season, every cycle, it is the tears of Isis mourning over the death and the trauma of her husband being cut up into 14 pieces from his brother, and her having to find the pieces of his body and mourn over his death, right? So this mourning of Isis is what brings the tears of Isis, which is what fulfills a harvest time for the Nile River so that the people can be merry in their harvest. One thing that does not make any sense about this particular part of the story is that the Nile River, river being the key word, is fresh water. Okay, and this is just simple logic, guys. I just want to bring this up into surface. And again, if you have any Cash App, Venmo, PayPal contributions to this particular conversation, because you will not hear this conversation anywhere else. There is no one on this planet that is particularly expressing this true message the way that I am. So I'm gonna pause for a second. And I'm going to take a look in the comments and read and see what people are saying so far before I even get into that part of the mythology. And I would like to see a little bit more support before I go any further into the story. And that's just being real. Because this is a part of the story. Every time I get on here, it's always a part of connecting true value to true value system, monetarily, money-wise, and so on. It is supposed to be an exchange of some sort for those that are willing to contribute into that space. So let me just go in and see who is here. Hey. And any comments on what has been said thus far? And it's crazy because I'm not really seeing comments in real time. It's a little backed up, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Something just told me to stop. Because something has stopped. So please let me know that you guys are still here, that you hear me, that you can see me, because something's a little off. So I just wanted to see some kind of activity in the comment section. Okay, I see a thumbs up by Katie. Thank you, still here and can see you. You are clear. Thank you. So just want to know that I'm in real time. All right. So as I was saying, there's something about the story of the Nile River that doesn't make any sense with the mythology. The river being the key word is that the river itself is fresh water, River is freshwater. Lakes, freshwater, entity of water. To dedicate tears towards the harvesting of a river doesn't make sense. It's already confusing to the natural order of things. People do not drink, we do not drink salt water. That is ocean water. That particular entity of water is completely different from the freshwater entity. A lot of people also, even in a lot of, like such as the entities as Yemaya and, the goddess of water and so on, those entities are seen as mother, nurturing, mother. And the thing about that, and I think I've said this in a couple of videos as well, in passing in conversation. Thank you, Dowdy, for your Cash App donation. Thank you. That doesn't make any sense because mother, the amniotic fluid that we carry when we're carrying with child, is clear. It's not salted. There is no salt water within the womb of the mother. Okay, so to associate the ocean with mother is also confusing to the true essence and entity that is listening for instruction. So the thing about this is salt water that comes from the body is usually coming from tears or sweat. When we're talking about goddess energy such as Isis, and we're talking about the connection to the Nile River, we're talking about her fresh waters. We're talking about her amniotic fluid waters. The waters, the true waters of life. No scent, no anything. It's just clear and it's clear, right? It's simple and clear. That is the waters of life. Also, the pleasure waters, right? The pleasure waters of the goddess. It's not just amniotic fluid and it's not about just birthing. It's also about her sensuality, her sexuality, her orgasmic waters, her pleasure waters. Also not salted, not associated with salt water. Pleasure waters from the woman. Thank you, Samuel, for your Cash App donation. The sensual waters that come from a woman's arousal, no salt water, no salt. So all of those waters are associated with the true magic and the true essence and the true harvest contribution of Isis, the goddess. This has been taken away. This is the conversation that I was having with the goddess on my inner self yesterday. This has been taken away due to the writers of life, in a sense, being the patriarchy during that time, to place the goddess in a position of nothing but sadness and struggle, mourning over a constant death within a constant loop of life, and squeezing the pain or squeezing harvest from pain and struggle from the goddess, bringing her to tears into a space that she can't eat or drink from. I should say, right? She can't just easily nourish herself with her tears. She's excreting a tear due to a mourning or a struggle or pain. And this pain is causing delight and pleasure for those that are looking to see this happen constantly. Now, the thing about this is, right now, this goddess energy has said enough. Anytime I cry, or anytime they make me cry, right, entity-wise or bigger picture-wise, there's a consequence to those tears. There's no more flourishing from the purposeful hurt put toward this goddess energy, particularly in the feminine energy, in the feminine essence. Any hurt, any purposeful hurt targeted towards this goddess, bringing her to tears, will not bring harvest to those that have brought this upon into the surface. It will bring upon a punishment of consequence for doing so. When you bring this goddess energy, it is flipped. When this goddess energy is excreting a pleasure of some sort, a happiness, a joyful feeling, a feeling of relief, a feeling of the waters breaking and a birthing happening, a feeling of a signal, because when your waters break, when you're a mother, when you're carrying with child, when your waters is breaking, there's no going back. There's only going to be a result of a birthing. The result is guaranteed. So when there's also, it doesn't always have to be about sex or sensuality or that part of femininity. It can literally be bringing something new into the space, which should be a gift to self and to others. Once you know that water has broken, you know something is on the way and it will appear in result form. So it's like those that contribute that type of energy towards this goddess energy, because there's a lot of worshipers. There's a lot of people that still worship Isis, but they're kind of like following a blueprint that kind of goes against this goddess nature, which is why the goddess is kind of turning the tides around, quite literally and figuratively, and placing these offerings and these signs of worship and these signs of acknowledgement into their rightful places. And this goddess particularly is taking a break from the tears and she is going into, and if any tears form, it is tears of happiness, tears of joy, because even the salted form and the crystals in the fucking tears itself actually have a register of what kind of tears they are. If you're crying because you're so overjoyed, there's a different molecular structure within that salt form. If you're crying because of pain and worry and struggle and stress, then those crystals have a different form. So even if the salt is brought upon us through tears from the goddess, these tears are contributing towards the nature of abundance, abundant tears, tears of joy, different kinds of tears. So it's kind of like just switching around the energy so that people, even if this story has been dormant, right? If you're not even thinking about the story, but somehow you're connected to it, right now the signals are responding, even hundreds of thousands of years later, still responding to the ping and the blueprint, because that's how powerful writing is. That's how powerful even how the written word was written in the symbols, in the hieroglyphics, in the fucking etched part of the pyramids and all of that. That is still alive and still activated and still communicates with the DNA within us. So these stories, these mini libraries inside of our DNA structures are now buzzing. It's buzzing right now. And if it is not a like match from the natural to what was written, if it doesn't match up, there's a confusion in the state of mind and state of being. So it's kind of like just simply reading, or kind of like going into these stories yourself and really recognizing what makes sense to you and what doesn't. Kind of like what we do we love picking on the Bible. We love going through the Bible and saying, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. You know, what is it? Jonah didn't go inside of a whale for like 3 days. Like, it's just like Noah's Ark doesn't make sense. It's not logical. All right, you want to keep doing that? Go into these other mythologies and kind of have that same thought process. Now, whatever is metaphorical, make sure it still makes sense for you. But there's always an energetic metaphor that does have a layer of tangibility. So, for instance, in the Bible, if we're talking about a Noah's Ark, which is really a space of time, it's a ship that carries space and time, which allows it to carry matter to cross over from one dimension to another. Really? That's like the metaphorical story of Noah's Ark. Plain and simple. That within itself, that metaphorical story broken down from how I just said it, carrying space and time, bringing life into one dimension into another, that within itself allows that story to descend and make sense in the earthly plane without the metaphoric part or point of view. So somehow, when it's time to tap into the Noah's Ark story, somehow there might be a Noah's Ark that is for you. You literally might need to get on a fucking flight and travel from the East Coast to the West Coast for your Noah's Ark moment. You might need a fucking Uber ride or a Lyft or somebody to drive you from point A to point motherfucking B to get to your next destination or your next dimension. That's how literal this is when we are translating from metaphor to sensibility to tangibility. So let's not like make fun of these stories, say, oh, that shit don't make no sense. Nah, like the metaphors are like, it's kind of like a multifaceted thing. And it has to be the consciousness that awakens the Noah's Ark, that awakens the Isis and Osiris fresh waters of the Nile. Now, the reason why the Nile River is in disarray right now, it's full of garbage, right? It's dirty. Nobody's gonna fucking drink from the Nile River now, is because it's been all of this confusion about her womb, about her fucking like, about her womb, and her womb is not garbage. So she's disassociating herself with the Nile itself and transferring her consciousness to real fresh fucking waters. So they can no longer bind Isis into the Nile because the Nile is no longer valid. It no longer aligns with her spirit. It no longer aligns with any of it. So they can keep the fucking Nile River. Egypt is not Egypt anymore, but there's another covering of Egypt that is everywhere else. It doesn't have to be in Egypt. Egypt has been abandoned by its own simply because it has been taken over and disrespected. So the whole point is this goddess is now associating and dispersing her own energy into. What's coming up for me is Niagara. Niagara Falls is a big part of where her energy is. Like, this is literally just coming in right now. Maybe I am kind of channeling Niagara Falls. If anybody can actually go to Niagara, whether it's on the Canada side or the New York side, that place is actually where most of her energy is because she is enjoying the freshness of the fucking Niagara. She said, fuck the Nile. I'm out. It is turned into bile. And you know what bile is. Bile is disgusting. Bile is when you're still fucking throwing up and vomiting and you have nothing in your stomach because your stomach is so empty, but you're still fucking sick. You're still throwing up. And you're throwing up bile. You're throwing up the lining of your fucking stomach because motherfuckers can't even feed you right. Motherfuckers can't even fill up your stomach as a god or goddess giving offerings that are garbage and bullshit. She's like, fuck your offerings. I'm starving. This is the bile river. And that is it. So she has moved. So motherfuckers in Egypt right now that are still using or trying to tap into this goddess energy through the Nile, they have been denied. So I just want to move it along. To bring Osiris into the space, okay? Because it's not just all about her, but she is the loudest and the strongest because she is the one that has been pinned down, literally pinned down the most. Osiris, now I understand where we are with the whole pronouns thing and us really trying to make sense of labeling ourselves, not wanting to be one thing. For the highly intelligent, we already know. A Matrix Master said they are in denial. There we go with denial. A lot of highly intelligent beings know and are in tune with their masculine and feminine self. This is why using the pronouns, using the pronoun they or them when referring to a person, I understand that. I'm not going to get into the gender thing about transgender stuff and all of that. in my opinion, from high level of intelligence opinion, you don't have to be a trans if you already are androgynous. To me, you're playing semantics at this point. If you are a man and you're trying to be a woman, and you turned into a woman via surgery and hormones, and now you want to be called she, that does not make you androgynous. If you're an androgynous person, even if you are trans, you don't have to change what the fuck you call yourself, because androgyny means them, they, her, and he, whatever the fuck. That's what androgynous means. Androgynous just means I can be him or her. So the war that people are putting against each other in this community is ridiculous. Okay? From my point of view, I'm not getting involved in that. And I always say, and I agree with a lot of the common censors in science that debate some of these transgenders, the non-binary and all of that. It's just like you were born with an XX. You will never be an XY. You were born with an XY, you will never be an XX. There's nothing you can do to change that chromosome. So, stop. Now, there is some malicious behavior toward this of trying to switch your gender in writing, right? Because we're not stupid. A lot of this is spell casting. When you were able to tap into the womb of a woman when you don't have a womb, but you are claiming it as such, by calling yourself a woman, you are now bypassing, and I don't care if this is controversial. I don't give a fuck. So you are bypassing passageway into a space where you do not fucking belong. Do not try to do womb magic when you don't have a fucking womb. I'm talking to those motherfuckers. Those transgender motherfuckers, because I know them when I see them. I'm not talking about an androgynous being that just feels more feminine, that just enjoys being more feminine than masculine and accents that in their fashion and shit. I'm not talking about y'all. I love you guys. Express however you want in your own beauty, your own form and fashion. I'm talking about these other motherfuckers that are literally trying to pierce through a passageway that they do not have the keys and codes to. They sneak through with the writing, calling themselves women when they're not. And then they literally do womb magic when they don't have a fucking womb, and they get through in the fucking magic because they're tricking the fucking system. I'm not playing with you guys. The goddess is alive, and the goddess fucking sees all that shit. And you will be fucking punished, and there will be consequences for doing that because you know what the fuck you're doing. Next. She curses a lot. Isis curses a lot. Because there are so many curses that have been put on motherfucking Isis. So she gets to curse. How about that? Now, I do want to conclude this with Osiris. Bring Osiris in. Osiris, hey. All right. The cutting up of the pieces of Osiris is a masculine point of view and representation of this goddess energy that is already whole, that can't really be split. Because even through the different archetypes in the goddess energies, such as Hathor, right? So let's bring in Hathor and Isis. What's the difference between Hathor and Isis? Right? Remember that Jay-Z song, Imaginary Player? At the end of the song, he's just like, oh, pull up on me with your bitch. Hop up to me with my bitch. And he asked me, what's the difference between a 4.0 and a 4.6? Like 40 to 50 grand, cocksucker, beat it. Do them shits even got leathers, right? What's the difference between Hathor and Isis? Ooh, 4.0 and 4.6. Cocksucker, beat it. That's the difference? Yup. How? Do we want to get into the numerology of 4.0 and 4.6? Hathor and Isis. I told you Isis had a throne on her head. Hathor has the horns on her head. So, Hathor has more privilege. Hathor is more sought out. Hathor is a goddess of love and sex and dance and nighttime, bitch. That's Hathor. Ooh, you see? Woo! I tell you, the ethers in the subconscious field, they speak. Damn. Isis said, fuck y'all, I'm Hathor now. Ice is too cold. It's too cold. I want to be warm with fire and dance and sex. Isis is canceled. Say my name and summon that shit. You won't get nothing. Because I'm not there. Isis has left the motherfucking dimension. Isis has left the dimension. Isis is gone. She is resting. And she will come back when it's time for ice. And there are certain people that need that ice storm. But for right now, for her personal selves, because she comes in many forms, she is warm. She is fiery. She is dancing. She is in music. She is in the arts. She is in the underworld because she knows that's where everyone is right now. She opens up the portals to the afterlife. It is up to Hathor, not Isis. So Hathor is now activated right now for specific types. And the other motherfuckers gets ice. Trying to do the shit that I already said, you know, from like, what's the name? From the beginning of the video. Thank you, Allison, for your donation. So Hathor is now alive. She is now animated. She is true to that. And Hathor is kind of like the disbursement of the other goddesses. But there's always a line to the Hathor self that has not been cut. There are certain goddess energies that prefer to do a specific thing, but always connected to the line of Hathor within themselves, to always have that option. What they did was they cut Isis from Hathor. Isis was out there roaming the fucking desert by herself while everybody's in the underworld where it's warm and fiery. The desert is cold. It's not hot. It's the opposition. It's the opposite. When you're roaming the desert in that heat, it is cold as fuck. It's kind of like if you're stuck on, if you are stranded on the ocean, in the middle of the ocean on like a boat or some shit, like a Life of Pi or something like that. And you just roaming around drifting on a fucking piece of wood in the middle of the ocean, you might fucking die from dehydration. That's desert-like, right? You are surrounded by water, but you can die from lack of fucking hydration? How is that possible? Oh, it's the salts. It's the tears, it's the crying, it's the pain, it's the blood, sweat, and tears. That's why. Because you're in the zone of slavery. You're in the zone of the fucking work. You're in the zone of the tears. You might die up in this bitch if you're surrounded by nothing but it. No fresh water at all, which means no sex, no sensuality, no dance, no art, no playful, youthful side of self. The serious side of self is in the salt water. The playful side of self, just like Oshun, right? Oshun is the playful goddess. Yemaya is the serious goddess. Oshun gets to wear the yellow, and she gets to shake her waist and be the one that, you know, tries to, you know, see God and, you know, like seduce and descend back down and turn into a fucking peacock or a vulture. It's a playful energy. So this is the energy that they cannot kill, that they will not kill. Ice has already died. We've been in a dead goddess. Yes, gods and goddesses can die when they freeze over. So they come back from the dead through the ice and they fucking fight with ice. For those that deserve to feel that chill when they don't want to fucking feel it. These motherfuckers that are gonna feel the ice storm, though, these motherfuckers are the ones first in line for the sunny package. They're the first in line to get into the warmth for the afterlife. Oh no, you motherfuckers are on the ice line. Get the fuck out of here. Where's my bouncers at? These motherfuckers don't deserve. They're at the wrong fucking club. They at the wrong door for the afterlife. You got a fake ID, motherfucker. Nope. Let me read the comments for a second. Because I still haven't gotten to Osiris. Osiris seems so silent. Osiris doesn't say much. Sis, can we women transmute the energies of the Nile? Ooh, Empress Light, that's a really good question. You know, the Nile has been infected for so long. I believe it will take a collective over time. If there's someone that can simply carry this resonance over to the actual Nile, it has to be a physical touch by a true goddess incarnate, having and hosting the goddess energy in true body form. And that is a journey for you as a woman to know whether you have been granted those rites of passage or not. Which means that you will be called to Egypt to touch the actual river. And that's where it begins, I feel. It's an actual physical touch that is needed. It's not through the mind anymore. We've done enough mind Jedi tricks of transmutation. We need physicality now. We need someone to actually go to Egypt. If I could afford it, or if we can actually fucking make it happen, I would actually plan a trip. But oh my God, we have the wars going on. It's so close to the craziness going on, right? Who wants to go to Egypt now? When it's time to go to Egypt now. Can we still go to Egypt? Can you guys email me? I need a group of women to email me at TarenGuy@gmail.com, because if we can get over to Egypt somehow and actually touch the Nile with this energy, I actually feel like something is going to bloom and blossom. And I really mean it. I've never been to Egypt, but I know it's time, but there's a lot of blockages based upon politics and timing and so on. It feels off. It's turning people off who has been on the path. It's turning them around to go back the other way when they should be going in that direction at this point. So there's a lot of strategic blockages happening right now. Yes, Empress Light, please email me. Seriously. Yes, we are setting the intention. So I appreciate you for saying that. Now, before I get into, I keep saying Osiris, his energy doesn't really say much. I don't think he needs to. There's a gentle energy that comes from Osiris, and there's a necessary energy that comes from Set, his brother that chopped him up. There's an apathy that this god Osiris feels an end point of life. Why nurture or teach or show people the way when they are not worthy? Osiris has disappeared, kind of like Jesus, disappeared for many points of like just time in the mythology and has come back and returned with harvest and so on. He's the good guy. He's the guy that you can count on. He's the noble one. The noble one gets tired of being noble, which turns him into Set. It turns him into his brother. Just like Isis turns into Hathor in that sense, when she gets tired, when she gets too cold, when she's too icy, she needs warmth. I feel like Osiris goes into the mode of Set and becomes the true god of the desert, the true god of death. Because I think he prefers to be on that side. So Set feels like the true masculine energy that is activated right now. Osiris is also kind of like put to rest. The green guy is just deactivated. He does not have the abundance. He's all squeezed out. He has no inspiration to be the gardener for what? The garden of what? Eden again? I am not going to be the king of an Eden garden type again. I'm sick and tired of it. I need some real substance. I need some real motherfuckers. I don't need these lowlings that don't want to do anything for themselves or that don't want to feel much. They just want to be taken care of. They just want to be on the surface. They are afraid of the underworld. Osiris turned himself into Set and killed himself. Splattered himself all over and just said, hey, there are pieces of me everywhere in different forms of life as a masculine side. I am the boy. I am the man. I am the middle. I am so many versions of myself because I need to be, but my dominant self is Seth or Set. So I kind of like feel like these energies are just putting certain energies to rest and activating certain energies that are full of life and full of energy. So again, Isis, tired. Hathor, awake. Osiris, over it. Set, awake. So it kind of feels like if you're still into the throne thing, but I said throne, if you say that word, when you throw something, something has been thrown away. I don't know if thrones are the terms right now, but the true dominant forces, at least in my mind's eye, I don't want to place this on anyone else's space if they don't resonate with it, are Hathor and Set. If there was to be a new king and queen granted upon a throne, it would be Hathor and Set. It would not be Isis and Osiris anymore. And that brings forth a different kind of dimensional shift. So I think this is like the time where it's it's getting wiggly again. It's no more, the straight lines are like broken down and we're getting wiggly again. We're getting like into the spiral form, the chaotic form that dances, but that knows how to dance. And only through this dance is how you can open the true portals to life. The straight lines can't get you into these spaces that are very sacred, full of Renaissance energy, and that are waiting with all of this space, time, energy, and magic. Wavy gets you there. Wavy gets you there. Not straight line. You know, so it's kind of like that. That's what I sense either way. Some groups that I am aware of just got back from Egypt within the last 30 days. Okay, so people are coming back from Egypt. It's an illusion. I am told that we all will be well when I go. Good. People are always just waiting. It's time to dance. It's time to dance right now. So I'll stop here with this. I feel like there was a big relief to this expression. But again, this message was inspired again by a reading that I did with someone yesterday. She's the one that brought up Isis and Osiris and her reading and her thing. And I kind of had her own, there was a personal connection that I helped her with, and she helped me as well. So I just wanted to just thank her and just kind of like continue to spread this message in a way, you know, that resonates. But I'll just say this again. If you are interested in having a private session with me for personal matters, I know how to really like read into numbers, kind of like a language, kind of like hieroglyphs in a sense. I see them as symbols and not numbers necessarily. So I know how to read into the energy of the symbol, whether it is your birthday, it depends on your birth date, the day or date that we are having our reading, and everything surrounding that. So I know how to read into that very well. So if you would like to book a session with me, just simply send a Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal of $80 or more. It's up to you, but the minimum is $80, as if you're paying for a session. And just send your email with the donation, and I will get right back to you, and we will schedule something, and we will have our session. And any other donations are more than welcome. There's always a reciprocity either way. If you still want to send your email with whatever donation, I can still interact with you, and that would be great. So just wanted to put this out there. Hope you guys enjoy this weekend. Energies are still fresh. Portals are still fresh. So, and I'm really serious about this whole Egypt thing. Maybe we can plan something for next year, 2024. The energy of 2024 feels better than 2023. I love the number 24. 2024 feels good. It will be a 4-4 or a 2-6, which brings in 8 resonance. That 8 resonance next year, being in 7 is not comfortable. So 2023, it is uncomfortable for a lot of people. 7, like if you look at the number 7, the straight lines of 7, the symbol, it is a sword kind of feeling. It's a sword. It is an illusionary end of completeness, an illusionary completeness. They say 7 is a number of completion, but it is not. Once you think 7 or the crown is the complete you have not connected to the actual resonance field of the true magic. You are just human. You are just a body. Go beyond 7. That's where the scary part is for those that are obsessed with the number 7. A lot of societies are obsessed with the number 7. The goal is to get to 7. Like that's the goal, and you've made it, right? And a lot of the old societies that still follow those old scripts. Once you made it to 7, you made it. No. You have no access to the true magical realm unless you've locked into 8. And 8 is the truth. 8 is authority. 8 is death. 8 is heavy weight. They're afraid of weight. They're afraid of heaviness. But I said sometimes heavy is good. You need something to anchor you down. If you're a fucking balloon and you lose a string, that balloon ain't coming down. You need something to pull it down. Where are you going? You need that weight. Come down to earth. Oh my God, we need weight. We need someone to pull. If you're falling down a fucking ditch, you need somebody to catch your hand, or you need a rope. You need somebody to pull you in. You need weight, don't you? They always make weight seem like it's so bad. That's another thing of the fucking mythology with the scale shit. Your heart has to be lighter than a feather, light as a feather. Fuck that shit. My heart is heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy. Why is my heart heavy? Because I love so much. It's heavy with love. It's heavy with experience. It's heavy with wisdom that I don't want to let go of. It's so good. It's heavy. Birds fly. They got weight too, motherfucker. How the fuck did that plane get in the air? You know how heavy how much does a fucking plane weigh? How much tons does a plane weigh? That bitch is still in the air though. They don't know nothing about aerodynamics and feathers and weight and shit. They're so fucking young and elementary. So they need to learn from the real motherfuckers. So they have been downgraded in their class system. So they got to connect to 8. So that is 2024. 2024. So there are 2 sides of 8 that you can connect to. So there's the 2, and the 2 plus 4 is 6. So there's the 2, 6, which brings you into a space of the Hathor space. That's like, lunar moon nighttime dance. Ooh. 2, 6, 2, 6. 6, sex, 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 sex. Then there's 4, 4. So you can break down 2024 into, you can bring the 2, 2 together, and you can keep the 4. That brings you into another frequency. Not everybody's in sex frequency. Or you can go back and forth. So if you go into the 2, 2, 4, the 4, 4, that's the journey for the motherfuckers that have an issue with 8. Just the scary motherfuckers that are scared of sex. 6, 6. They're scared of the 6. They're scared of the 6. They're scared of the 6. Those are the motherfuckers that are scared of the 6. Scared of the 6. Those motherfuckers, okay, they are here too, but they have a different path. They can't be on a 2, 6 path if they're not about that fucking life. Move out the way. Do not put me on your 4, 4 path if I am a 2, 6. I'm on my path, you're on your path. Things are getting reconstructed to the rightful places of the right energies. So these 7 straight line 7, 4, 4, 4 motherfuckers are trying to be in the 6 side when they don't even know what the fuck they're doing in that side. And then they want to put people like me in their fucking line category. Get the fuck out of here. I know 8 and I love 8. So I'm ready for 6. I'm not scared of the 6. God damn it. Sometimes I gotta yell at these people. Because those are the ones that have been controlling the control board. But not anymore. So, aren't Isis and Asar on in the same as Hathor and Set? Oh, they could be, but I'm just saying there are certain sides that are not activated. So if an Isis is activated, a Hathor usually is not, right? There's a turn-taking point. So yes, of course, we're multifaceted, and there's certain points that come to the front face of self, while the other part that is dormant or that needs to sleep or rest goes to the back face and goes to different parts. But the dominant part is the front face part. So I was just placing, at least in my world, in my space of resonance, placing Hathor in the front face while Isis goes to sleep and fights motherfuckers with ice in her dream. So that I can, me personally, as TarenGuy, the human, connected to this goddess energy, of course, can live my life through the Hather forum because that's what I prefer. You know what I mean? So it's like a preference. I prefer Hather. I prefer that frequency from my life and this cycle of my life right now. There are parts of me that actually want to be ice. They are fucking mad and they want to be upset and they want to fucking go to war. ISIS is going to war right now. I don't want to go to war. So that part of me is taking care of what my true front eyes, don't want to be dealing with right now. So that's what I mean. It's literally, and that's a personal decision. That's a personal thing. So I'm just sharing with you guys my personal switching and resonance of my choosing and having a right to choose this and have that be my identification of self. You know? So anyway, I'm going to go. Again, thank you guys for the donations and the donations to come if you've watched this video after the fact. I definitely need it. Listen, I'm out here, like, just out here. I don't know how I'm living. I don't know how I'm doing this. It must be magic, but I'm here. So any fucking monetary value sent to me will help me very much. Because I swear to God, I've been put in the ice box. And these motherfuckers just really want me to fucking die. And they want to start financially. They really want me to dry out, not have no funds. So I have no fun. You understand? Funds equals fun equals Hather equals love equals dance ... So no funds, there's no fun. And I want to have fun. And I want to support my family and myself and be responsible at the same time. So thank you very much. I'll see you guys another time. And all of the info is in the description. So I'll see you soon.